The illusion of the romantic transaction. Most men are conditioned from birth to follow a script that is fundamentally broken. We are fed a diet of movies, songs, and social expectations that tell us love is a prize to be bought with the currency of effort. We're told that if we just give her more attention, more reassurance, more flowers, and more of our soul, she will eventually have no choice but to love us back. It turns romance into a high stakes transaction, where the man believes that by pouring 100% of his identity into a woman, he is proving his worth. But this relentless effort often disguises a deeper, darker reality, a complete lack of self containment. When you drown someone in attention, you aren't showing them how much you love them. You are showing them how much you need them to validate your existence. You are essentially handing her the keys to your emotional kingdom and saying, please tell me I'm enough because I can't tell myself. The weight of being someone's everything. This dangerous lie doesn't just mislead men, it actively repels women. Think about the physics of it. When you make a woman the sun, the moon, and the stars of your universe, you are placing an invisible, crushing weight on her shoulders. She becomes responsible for your happiness, your stability, and your sense of self. That isn't romantic, it's exhausting. Most men think they are being supportive or devoted, but to a woman, that constant need for reassurance feels like emotional clutter. It creates a dynamic where she can never truly relax because she is too busy managing your insecurities. The moment you make her the sole source of your joy, you stop being a partner and start being a burden. You become a needy man, and neediness is the ultimate predator of desire. The brutal reality of masculine completion. The truth is far more direct and, for many, much harder to swallow. Women don't fall in love with men who need them to survive. They fall in love with men who are already whole. They are magnetically drawn to the man who has a mission that exists entirely outside of the relationship. This is a man who has a direction, a purpose, and a set of values that don't shift just because a woman enters the room. When a man is internally complete, he doesn't look to a woman to fill a hole in his soul. He invites her to share in the abundance he's already created. This isn't about being cold, and it definitely isn't about playing hard to get. It's about being hard to break. It's about having a life so rich with meaning and stability that while her presence is a beautiful addition, her absence would not result in your collapse. The irresistible power of emotional stability. When you reach this state of internal completion, your energy shifts in a way that is impossible to fake. You stop panicking when she takes a few hours to text back. You don't spiral into uncertainty if she needs a night to herself. You possess a calm, grounded energy that says, I want you here, but I don't need you here to be okay. This is the exact polarity that triggers deep instinctual attraction. A woman feels safe with a man who stands firm in his own center because she knows she can't knock him off his path. If she can't break your emotional stability with a little bit of distance or a bad mood, she realizes she can finally let go of the reins and trust your lead. You become a magnet, not because of what you give her, but because of who you are when she isn't giving you anything at all. This is the difference between a man who begs for a seat at the table and the man who builds the table himself. The unspoken audit, how she scans your soul. Before a single word leaves your mouth, an invisible conversation has already taken place. Women possess a highly tuned biological radar designed to scan a man's vibrational frequency almost instantly. This isn't mysticism, it's evolutionary psychology. Within seconds of you entering her space, her subconscious is asking one fundamental question. Is this man a source of stability, or is he a vacuum of need? Most men fail this audit before they even finish their first sentence because they carry what I call hungry energy. This energy is heavy, jagged, and loud. It's the vibe of a man who is looking for a win to feel good about himself. When you are hungry for her approval, your body language is slightly too forward. Your eyes are searching hers for a reaction, and your timing is off. You radiate a subtle urgency, as if the air in the room will run out if she doesn't smile at you. This urgency signals to her nervous system that you are ungrounded and shaky, a man who is waiting for a woman to tell him who he is. The suffocation of the hungry man. When you show up with this needy energy, your compliments don't feel like gifts, they feel like invoices. Every "you look beautiful" or "I'm so glad we met" carries a hidden demand for her to pay you back with validation. This creates a massive amount of internal noise that a woman can feel in the atmosphere. To her, a needy man feels like a project that hasn't been finished. She senses that if she leans on you, you might snap, and if she pulls away, you might chase. This creates an immediate wall of resistance. She cannot feel attraction when she is too busy feeling apprehension. Her biological imperative is to find a man who is a container for her emotions, not a man who needs her to be the container for his. When you treat her attention like oxygen, you are essentially telling her that you are suffocating without her, and nobody wants to be the life support system for a stranger's ego. The magnetic shift, presence as power. The man of completion operates on an entirely different wavelength. When you are a whole man, your presence actually changes the physical atmosphere of the room. You don't rush into the conversation because you aren't afraid of the silence. You don't force a connection because you aren't desperate for a result. You don't over-explain your value because you aren't trying to sell yourself to her. Because you don't need her attention to feel like a man of worth, her nervous system does something incredible. It relaxes. The weight of responsibility evaporates. She realizes, perhaps for the first time in her life, that she isn't being recruited to be your therapist, your mother, or your source of self-esteem. This lack of demand is the most seductive thing a man can offer. You become a man to be admired and explored, a mountain she wants to climb, rather than a fixer-upper house she has to renovate. The death of attraction, emotional pressure. Now, let's talk about why neediness is the ultimate romance killer. It creates unbearable emotional pressure. Attraction requires space to breathe, but neediness is a vacuum that sucks all the air out of the room. A needy man is reactive. He is a leaf in the wind of her moods. If she takes longer to text, he panics. If she is having a bad day, he takes it personally. This volatility is a massive burden on a woman's psychology. Her subconscious quickly realizes that your stability is tied to her behavior. The thought process is simple but devastating. If I step away or have a moment of doubt, this man will lose his mind. A woman cannot fall in love with a man she feels responsible for. Love requires a degree of surrender, and she cannot surrender to someone she has to constantly prop up. Pressure is the opposite of desire. When she feels she must give you something to keep you stable, she will instinctively want to give you nothing at all. Masculine polarity, the physics of independence. True independence is the foundation of masculine polarity. Think of it like a magnet. You cannot have a pole without two distinct solid poles. When you are emotionally independent, you provide the solid pole that her fluid pole, the feminine, is naturally wired to seek. Independence signals that you are emotionally mature, a man who has navigated his own shadows and built his own house. When you don't need her validation to feel powerful, she finally feels safe enough to be her most authentic feminine self. She doesn't have to man up to handle your insecurities. She doesn't have to walk on eggshells to protect your fragile ego. Your independence acts as a protective barrier around the relationship. It tells her that even if the world gets chaotic, or even if she gets chaotic, you will remain unmoved. This strength doesn't push her away. It creates an irresistible gravitational pull. Your independence is the very thing that gives her the freedom to move toward you, knowing that when she gets there, she'll be leaning against a wall of granite, not a curtain of smoke. The ultimate fork in the road, emptiness versus abundance. At the end of the day, Every interaction you have with a woman boils down to a single fundamental choice. Are you operating from a place of emptiness or a place of abundance? This is the invisible line that separates the men who struggle from the men who succeed. When you come from emptiness, you are essentially an emotional beggar. You are looking for a woman to provide the self-worth, the happiness, and the spark that you lack on your own. To her, this feels like an anchor. You aren't offering her a partnership. You're offering her a job, the job of being your emotional caretaker. She becomes the one responsible for keeping your spirits high and your ego intact. On the flip side, the man of abundance isn't looking for a missing piece to his puzzle. He is already a complete picture. When he interacts with a woman, he isn't needing her to fix his life. He is choosing her to share in the greatness he has already built. This shift from needing to choosing changes everything. One is a plea for help. The other is a position of leadership. The leader versus the caretaker. You have to understand the psychological blueprint of what a woman actually desires. She does not want to be the foundation upon which your world is built. If she is the foundation, the moment she feels a flicker of doubt or wants to explore her own feminine depth, she fears the whole structure will come crashing down on her. That is a terrifying amount of pressure. She doesn't want to be the reason your world exists. She wants to be a guest of honor in a world that is already thriving. She wants to look at your life and see a mission, a set of brothers, a career, and a personal discipline that is unshakable. When she sees that you are the captain of your own ship, she can finally stop trying to steer and simply enjoy the journey with you. A leader provides a container of strength that allows her to relax into her femininity. A caretaker, however, is always looking to her for the map. If you want her to respect you, you must first be a man who is worthy of following. A man whose life is so full and focused that her presence is the cherry on top, not the entire cake. The transformation from chasing to building. If you are tired of the endless cycle of chasing, hoping, and feeling like you're always one wrong move away from losing your interest, the solution isn't to chase harder. The solution is to stop chasing altogether and start building. This is the moment where you decide that your time, your energy, and your purpose are too valuable to be spent begging for a crumb of attention. Transformation doesn't happen by learning a few lines or tricks. It happens when you fundamentally rebuild your mindset from the ground up. It starts with the realization that you are the prize. When you stop focusing on how to get her and start focusing on how to build a life of power, you naturally become the kind of man that women are terrified of losing. This is about shifting your internal gears so that your confidence is no longer a performance, but a permanent state of being. You are moving from a life of reaction to a life of intention. Your lifetime of mastery starts now. This path we are talking about isn't a quick fix or a weekend seminar. This is a total overhaul of your masculine identity. Most men try to patch up their insecurities with temporary advice, but the cracks always show eventually. To truly become the man who never has to beg for respect again, you need more than just information. You need an environment that demands excellence. This is why the Brotherhood exists. It is a private sanctuary for men who are done with mediocrity and ready for a lifetime of mastery. It's a space where you are held accountable, where the psychology of power is stripped down and mastered, and where you learn to control your emotions instead of being a slave to them. You don't join a community like this for a month. You join it for life. You are investing in the version of yourself that stands tall, speaks with conviction, and moves through the world with unyielding purpose. The final decision: enroll once, grow forever. The door is open, but you are the only one who can walk through it. You can continue down the path of the hungry man, constantly seeking validation and feeling the sting of rejection. Or you can make the one decision that changes your entire trajectory. This is about more than just relationships. It's about your legacy as a man. When you join us, you aren't just getting a course. You're getting every future lesson, every book, and the collective wisdom of a brotherhood that is dedicated to your growth. There are no monthly fees to drain your bank account and no limits on your potential. It is one single commitment to yourself. If you are serious about discipline, growth, and reclaiming your power, click the link in the description. Stop waiting for life to happen to you and start making life happen on your terms. Enroll once, grow forever. Let's dive in.